tell us what exactly happened on the day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 when you go to the FTII for the orientation program for a sound recording and audio engineering course, which is equally prestigious like any other.
Right. So after getting a call from the FTII sound recording department, this program was scheduled for around 5 days, the orientation program.
Sure.
Right after getting to the getting in at FTII, we were first asked to produce our mark sheets.
Sure.
That was suppose that was the day 0, and we were taken for the health examination,
sure,
which was prerequisite.
True.
So that happened for the first day. From the second day, that is from the day 1 onwards, when the orientation actually started, we had an external faculty as PM Satish. He is best known for his national award in Kumar Talkies, as well as for yes. And apart from that, we had regular FTII faculty members who were there for our evaluation.
Sure.
So the first day itself, like when we arrived, we were asked, on the first day we were taken to the sound recording department, and out there we had an orientation as to what are the key components of filmmaking, and of course the sound designing, be it the aesthetics, be it the scientific procedure, basically an introduction that was given to us by the faculty members as well as the external faculty.
And there were how many students total who were called for the orientation program?
So there were like 30 people. Out of that, around 30 people were called. Out of that, 27 came.
Okay. That was for 3-year sound recording course for film department, right?
That's right. That's right. The 3 years film department course. Yes. So right after the first day, when the faculty members gave us an introduction as to what are the key components of sound design, how is film made, there was a very friendly kind of interaction where they asked us about our own background, why we were here, what we would like to contribute to and how we would like to contribute to the film industry, and specifically, of course, to the making of sound in films. So that is where the first half of the first day ended.
Okay.
With interaction as well as they briefing us as to what are the components of filmmaking and sound designing.
Correct.
Then after that, in the second half, right after the lunch break, we were shown a video without any sound.
Okay.
Like it was like a 5 minutes clip, and it was an animated clip.
Okay.
And we know that for animated clips, sound has to be designed right from the start. So
sure,
we had to use our imagination completely, and we were asked to write in a paper as to what kind of sounds would we think is mandatory for, or what should be there in that particular clip.
Paper means, let me just interrupt in between. Paper means they give you a written sheet with a question, and you need to answer those questions, right?
Right. So we were shown.
So how many questions were there connected with that particular animation film which you saw?
So the clip was shown to us twice without sound, and we were asked that every scene wise describe what should be the sound for each scene.
Okay.
So that is, and we had to write all the kinds of sound we thought should be there.
Okay.
Particular clip, we had to write.
Great.
If I give you an example, the animated clip showed us a clip of a queen who was walking through the corridor of her kingdom, and she was also wearing heavy jewelry. So we had to write that, okay, probably we would hear the sound of jewelry while she's walking, or the payal that she's wearing. So all these kinds of sounds, the thematic descriptions of the sounds we had to write.
Do you recollect the name of the film which was shown to you, you guys, as an animation?
So the name was not disclosed to us at that time because that was still under production.
Okay.
And that was done by PM Satish himself.
Okay, fine.
The external faculty members. Right. So that is why the name was not shown to us. Yeah. So right after we had written what sounds we would think was supposed to be there in that particular clip.
Correct.
We had a round of discussion wherein everyone was asked as to what you had written. So it was kind of an evaluation through discussion, but of course we also had to write it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sure.
So in the discussion, we were like, what I thought was mostly evaluated was in terms of how do we connect in a group, whether we should not be talking over each other. That is what I think, because whenever someone was trying to talk over the other person, so the faculty members would say that, okay, let's talk one by one, let's keep it as a discussion, let's not get into like debate kind of a thing.
Correct.
So that is what we had a discussion, a round of discussion, which went on for like 45 minutes or so, because there were like 27 students, and those students who were not responding at all, they also they were also asked to contribute. True. So all this group dynamic is generally evaluated. Correct. Was generally evaluated through that particular discussion. And once we had a round of discussion, then PM Satish himself, he showed us the clip as to what he had produced till that, for that particular short clip. So like what sounds he thought would be there in that particular clip. So that is what happened in the first day of the evaluation. Then for the second day, right at the beginning, we were shown, and right in the morning, we were shown an image. Specifically, the specific image was that of Pandit Ravi Shankar on the ghats of Banaras.
Okay.
So, and we were asked to describe the sound of that particular image, like what we thought should be the sound if we assumed that the image was moving.
Okay.
But it was a still image. And again, just like the previous day's exercise, we had to write it down, and then there was a round of discussion. Now, of course, because
there... Just interrupt. It was a printed sheet which was given to you, and then you are supposed to write those questions, right?
Right. So we were given an answer sheet, just an answer booklet, which is being used for FTII internal evaluations as well. Wonderful. And on that, we had to describe what all could be the possible sounds for that particular image. And not only that one image, there were in fact two images that were being shown to us. And the first one was mainly for discussion purposes, that, okay, this could be the possible sounds that we thought could be related to that particular picture. And then there was another image which was shown to us, which was for which we had to write down write down what sounds we perceived there to be.
Correct.
Yes. So that is how the first half of the second day went through.
Okay.
In the second half, we were actually asked to record sound, and we were given 3 themes specifically.
Okay.
And these themes were generally discussed in the first day of the orientation program itself. And the theme was, there were 3 themes that were given, and we had to record in any 2 of them, for any 2 of them. So the 3 themes that were given to us was perspective of space through sound. How do we perceive the space through hearing sound?
Okay.
Then the second one was, if we were given a theme of panic, what should be the sounds associated with panic?
Okay.
And then the third theme was that of recording footsteps.
Okay.
Yeah. So I chose recording footsteps and recording perspective, and the perspective of space. Most of the other candidates, some of them chose panicking, the theme of panic. Some of them chose the theme of footsteps. So any 2.
So let me just interrupt in between.
Sure.
When you was given the theme of this footstep, panic, was you supposed to write about that, or was you supposed to physically go and record and show it to them?
Sure, sir. So it was a physical recording of sound. We were given a shotgun microphone along with a recorder, which is generally used in the sets. And
What
we
was
were...
the model and what was the name of the company which was given to you?
That was, I think, a Zoom microphone.
Okay. Recorder.
Yeah. Yeah. The model, currently, I don't...
Doesn't matter. No, carry on. Carry on.
So, and it was specifically a shotgun microphone. It was pretty heavy to carry along with us.
Okay.
The recorder was specifically heavy because...
So how many students group was made so that the student will not mishandle the equipment? So how many group were there, and how many group were given the equipment to record the sound? So person 1, person 2, person 3, so that you record the sound, somebody will record it, something like that.
Right. So there was a group of 3 students who were given one particular set of device. That is one microphone and a recorder. And we were given an exact time of 1.5 hours.
Okay.
Within that, so we would use 30 minutes to, on an average, there should be 30 minutes we can use for recording each of the sounds, the themes. So that is one exercise we had to. In that, we had to also plan things out. That okay, how do we? Because everyone's idea was different, and how people would record that sound, that would also be very different. So, and we would have to help each other out. So suppose if anyone was trying to record the sound of a window pane opening up, so someone would go and open up the window, and the person who is recording, who he or she would be hearing the levels of that particular recording and hearing the levels of that particular sound.
Correct.
Yeah. So that was a group activity. So like the footsteps, for footsteps, if someone wanted to record actual footsteps, so one person would have to act as if he or she is walking, or he or she is playing, and then particularly the other person who is actually recording that, or who has that idea, he or she would say, okay, let's have another take on this. The sound did not come properly. So this all had to be done within 1.5 hours. This was a time exercise. And of course, we had to go and submit the recordings within 1.5 hours. And those who did not submit, of course, probably they would have marked us negatively also. But of course, we went and tried to, our group tried to give the recordings within time.
Correct.
So it was. So that happened on the second half of day 2. On day 3, what was done was these recordings was actually taken to the studio, and each one of us was called individually, because there are only like two rooms where these where we would where there would be technicians sitting and editing the sound, that sound clip. So each student would go one by one, and whosoever was the technician, because we didn't have that much hands-on experience using the technology. So the technician would take the sounds into the computer and ask us as to, okay, tell us what this sound was all about. How do you want to place each of these sounds? What should be the sequence of the sounds? So that is what was done, and the maximum time for the clip that was given was for 1 minute.
Okay.
Each person would have a clip of not more than 1 minute. Even if we have taken multiple takes, we would only be allowed to, okay, the technician would make us hear what you have actually recorded, and then he would take the final shots, and then he would just append those two files, or those two teams of files together.
Okay.
Yeah, and that should be not more than 1 minute. That was the time limit of the sound. So once that was done, we were again called to the sound room, and each one of us, like the whole group, was then again we regrouped, and the sound of or the recordings of each one of us was played in front of everyone, and then he or she, on the individual who has recorded, he or she was asked to describe what that sound was all about. And PM Satish himself, he would ask questions as to, okay, do you think this was an or does the sound actually display what you are trying to convey? So that is what he or she he asked us, PM Satish himself. And again on that day 3, second half, what we were shown was again a clip, and this time it was not an animated clip anymore. It was a moving picture clip without sound, and again on a paper we had to describe what kind of sound we would perceive there.
So could you just tell us what exactly did you show you, and what was the clipping was all about?
So essentially, this particular clipping was from a Tamil film, I believe, which PM Satish was working on currently.
Okay.
So this was a scene of a forest where two people, one man and a woman, along with the kid, they were trying to run, and they were trying to hide from someone, and they were running from some kind of maybe the police or other people. I don't know. We don't know. That was not shown. So it was more of a panic kind of a scene where these two individuals were panicking along with a child in hand.
So how long was this clipping which was shown to you, on which you are supposed to write?
So this was like again a 3 to 4 minutes clip.
Okay.
Yeah, and then once they were through the forest, they were walking through the forest. They were hiding behind a tree when a tiger came in suddenly, and just to save the child, the man went and encountered the tiger, and of course the tiger would eat up the man, and the man asked the woman to run with the child. This was just done to save the child, essentially. Yeah, so this was what the clip was all about mainly. And again, like we had to write it down. And once we had written, of course, they would check. And for this particular part, we were again individually called by PM Satish, and we were asked to discuss as to okay, what we had actually written.
Correct.
Right.
So that was
this
day 4th, right? Or day 3?
Yes. Then on the day 4th, there was a round of interview where everyone was called individually, and there were like 5 panel members who were sitting, including the director of the institute and
Was
other
the
faculty.
director of the institute, PM Satish, and who are the other people?
External faculty member was no more there in the interview board.
Okay.
It was the director.
PM Satish was not there.
No. External faculty member was not there. It was only the director of the institute and other faculty members of the institute.
So
who
were the other faculty member beside your HOD? Just roughly, if you could recollect, otherwise forget about it.
Yeah, right now I don't recollect.
Okay, no problem.
If I see the list, probably I would
be
able to.
Don't worry.
And apart from that, there was a psychologist who was also evaluating us.
Okay.
Yeah, probably he was from the institute itself.
Okay.
And the questions that were asked was, to me specifically, it was more in terms of why do you want to do this particular course? Now, because I was already elder to others in the who were appearing for the interview. So they asked me, why do you, at this age, why do you want to do this particular technical course? Why don't you go for a direction course if you have a lot of ideas with you? So all these questions were asked specifically to me. And apart from that, they also asked me a few technical aspects of recording. We were also asked to write down in a piece of paper as to what is the technical or how do you actually, the microphone that we used, what are the steps that we followed specifically to record the sound.
Okay.
So I had to write it. So they asked me that particular question. Then they also asked me questions related to what are waves, what are the different kinds of waves, longitudinal, what are these, some mathematics related questions related to the wavelength of a string. And apart from that,
wavelength of
the wavelength of a particular wave, if it was generated from a guitar string which measured some centimeters.
Okay. Technical question in the interview.
The ideal wavelength. Yeah. So it was a completely technical question, mathematical question. And apart from that, of course, I was asked in terms of what is my personal background and all those things, and whether I would be physically comfortable or not, because sound recording involves a lot of physical activity, because the way we generally hold the microphone, so that whether I'm ready for that or not. So all those questions were asked to me. So the interview, for me, the interview lasted around 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And on an average, this was more or less the average length of the interview, even for other candidates as well.
So now, Kaushik, I need to ask a very important question, because I had been observing you for 20 days. And believe me, I was very happy for you particularly, when you received the call for the orientation, because I was more or less sure that you would make it, because you were sincere when I observed you for 20 days. And I really wished that you could have made it. But what do you think that what was the reason they did not accepted you for the 3-year program?
So as far as I got, though there was no particular feedback as such given to me, but along with the discussion that I had when we were discussing the answers specifically individually, what I was asked probably was that, okay, you have the aesthetic sense of filmmaking or sound design as well. What you probably need to learn is the technical aspects, the software specifically. Why don't you probably do a 1-year course or a short-term course, or maybe 6 months, because there are different types of short-term courses available with private institutes as well. Why don't you do those kinds of courses? And this is what was also asked to me in the interview as well, as to why don't you do a short-term course, why a 3 years, specifically a 3 years course. And probably that is the reason, I think, intuitively, because the discussions that I had with the other members at FTII, and of course we understand that FTII has just 5 seats for the general category which I competed for, and they would of course prefer students who are young, who would need that 3 years of training, to who are of course good with their technical knowledge and their aesthetic knowledge as well, but they would also need those 3 years of training to understand as to what the whole process of filmmaking and what are the different aspects of filmmaking. So this is what I thought would have been one of the reasons why I was probably not selected, though my name came on the waiting list, though it was number 8. But this could be the possible reason.
So Kaushik, coming to a very specific final decision that they found you overqualified, A, probably, and B, they suggested you that you should do a 3 months or 6 month course rather than wasting your time for 3 years. So that another deserving candidate who is much more looking forward for the FTI, where he will. So do you think that was this a knowing certain knowledge? Was it a knowledge of your sound recording thing, or was it your age which was a determinant factor for them to say that you should do a 3 to 6 month course?
Probably, I would say, I would not say that it was age. I would, no, I also wanted to learn a lot about sound designing. And probably what happens in the 3 years is that, apart from, of course, sound designing is not only about the technical aspect of sound. What is required is you should have different ideas about how do you convey different kinds of sound to people. So these are generally, these can be developed for other students who could be probably more deserving and who are more enthusiastic about this course. And that is what I felt that, because I have been watching different kinds of film and analyzing films. So I have that, because when we were discussing about the themes recording, one thing that PM Satish said, that the themes that you have recorded they depict a lot of symbolism. So is it all about symbolisms for you? So I said, yes, probably. Okay, I have certain ideas with me, so I try to depict it through recording sound. So probably these get developed over a period of time.
Sure.
And which, and probably those who require this development and who are still young, they might just go and study this 3 years course, whereas I can study, because I want to develop only my technical knowledge at this point. Um, so probably that is what they thought I should do.
So finally, my last question is, because you was sincere and many people just buy the book, some of them who are not able to make it, even if they are in Delhi, they save their 10,000 rupees and you spend 20,000 rupees, more or less, right? So I remember the 20 days we provided you the 2 different teachers who were really good to my knowledge, because they were all ex-student of Craft Film School and they studied sound recording, and they were industry practitioner who has a studio and were teaching outside and doing their freelance work as well. And they came to do the 2-hour class with you. So how did you find those 2-hour class of a domain specific knowledge of 70 marks to crack the written exam?
Well, to me, it was at Craft, I had a great experience specifically to understand different aspects of sound. Though I have been intrigued by sound of films a lot, and I had also studied physics in my undergraduate. I have been a physics student. I work with a lot of equations and all. So the conceptual aspects of sound propagation and all, probably I was comfortable with. But at Craft, I definitely gained a lot of technical knowledge specific to what microphones are, what are the different kinds of software, what are MIDI files, what are MP3 files, what are the technical differences between all these things. What kind of other technical aspects do we use while designing sound? What is equalization? All these things I would, of course, gain knowledge from a practitioner, industry practitioner, a specialist who has been doing this kind of work for a lot of time. At Craft, our faculty was really helpful in giving us that particular knowledge. So I gained a lot from the domain-specific classes which I took for the 2 hours every day for 20 days.
So I still wish that someday, not immediately now, because you are still teaching what you was teaching before joining our Craft coaching classes for FTI, but still sound is at your heart, and I'm sure that someday or other it will help you in whatever else you are doing in terms of teaching, because sound and visual are the 2 elements which are very, very prominent in terms of anything you do. So I am very hopeful. So thank you so much for joining this place, this discussion. I'm sure it will be helpful for many more people who would be aspiring to join sound recording course at FTI Pune. So this is my last question. Anything which I may not have asked and you would like to give as a message to those people who are aspiring to join FTI or SRFTI 1 year or 3 years sound recording course, please.
So my message would be, while you start preparing for FTII or SRFTI, the Craft Film School's course for the preparation is really helpful. It helped me a lot in terms of developing my domain-specific knowledge. Not only that, we also had the booklet that Naresh sir has prepared over through a lot of years of his research himself. So that's also really, really helpful to understand or to get general knowledge of different kinds of films, film genres, specifically foreign films, though I had my interest also. I have been watching a lot of films since quite some time, of course. That was definitely helpful because he has been in this particular field for quite a while. For a lot of years now, he's an expert. So the Craft Film School's course is really interesting, and it helped me a lot. So I would like to ask you if you can probably go and join this course. Um, and apart from that, of course, studying specifically for the exam and orientation requires a different set of mindset. You need to be really serious about what you are doing, what you are studying, how do you understand the concepts. That is what the seriousness is, of course, required for cracking any competitive exam, which is as competitive as FDIA or SRFDI. So I would like to wish all the future students all the very best for cracking the exams.
But if you really like this video, do press the bell icon and subscribe to this channel